Hey, shalom, shalom. I rob to Wab, which is good evening. I'm knocking on Waha Ibar, Shal, Hawalakim Latham. Call Shabawai, Baharacha, Wakak Shaw, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah. Hey, with the Hebrew Israelites coming to you week in and week out through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah, to preach to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, Haitians, and Israelite foreigners. Nechamatam, Kayah, Hamalakwat, Hashemayim, Korab. Repent, yea, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Call Halayim La, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah. Bahasham Racha HaKodash, Wa Mashana, Kabadis McQueen Nawa, Wa Malaakim Shaw Yashla Zaquim Racha Gadawal, Wa Chasa, Wa Shalawam, Wa Barakim, Lahabachayim, Shaw Hagab Shalawam. Alright, so all praise to the Most High Yahweh, which means He exists. Bahasham, in the name Yahweh Shai delivers. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Israel, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, mercy, peace, and blessings to the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom, which means peace. Alright. So this lesson is entitled HaMagadal Shal Babal. HaMagadal Shal Babal, which is the Tower of Babel. HaMagadal, the Tower, Shal of Babal, which means Babel. Alright. So I'm gonna be starting at Barashith, also Genesis chapter 11 and verse 1. It says, and the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. Ma hayaza shapa achath. Alright, so what was that one language? Alright, so let's go to Yeshaya. Also Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 18. It says, in that day shall five cities in the land of Egypt speak the language of Canaan. Shapa Shal Kana'ain, the language of Canaan. And swear to the Lord of hosts, one shall be called the city of destruction. Alright. So we know that the language of Canaan was Hebrew, but let's go into it. Let's get Barashith, also Genesis chapter 14 and verse 13. It says, and there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and the brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram. All right, and that's Abraham in Hebrew, which means exalted father. Yep, exalted father. But Abram was a Hebrew. All right, so he kept the customs, the traditions, and he spoke the language. All right, but moving on, Barashith, chapter 17, verse 1, it says, and Abraham was 90 years old and 9, and the Lord appeared to Abraham and said unto him, I am the almighty power, Alashadya, walk before me and be thou perfect, and I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abraham fell on his face, and the Most High talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abraham, but thy name shall be Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee. And Abraham goes into a father of a multitude. It says, and I will make thee exceeding fruitful. Let's get that. Abraham, father of a multitude. All right. Now going back, it says, I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee, and I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee in the generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a power unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. Verse 8, the point. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan. Call ha Aratazah Shal Kana'ain. All right, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their power. All right, this land going into from not roughly, but the land from the border of like Egypt to Euphrates, the land of Canaan. All right, but pretty much being that Abraham was a Hebrew, he spoke Hebrew, and that land was given to him. All right, and to the nation of Yasha'Allah. All right, that was the language of Canaan. All right, so moving on back to Barashith chapter 11 in verse 2 it says, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. All right, which that's Ha'aratazah Shal Shinar. All right, the land of Shinar. So at pretty much at one point in time, everybody was dwelling in the same land. All right, verse 3. They said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which children of men builded. The children of men builded. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Let's get some precept. This is Bon Sirach. Also, Ecclesiasticus chapter 33 and verse 10. It says, and all men are from the ground, and Adam was created of earth. In much knowledge the Lord hath divided them, and made their ways diverse. Some of them he hath blessed and exalted, and some of them he sanctified and set near himself. But some of them hath he cursed and brought low and turned out of their places. As the clay is in the potter's hand to fashion it at his pleasure, so man is in the hand of him that made him to render to them as liketh him best. All right. So pretty much, the people weren't made to be all one people. All right. This event took place, or the effect of this event taking place was the languages being confounded. All right. And along with that, the Lord had the sons of God, you see, in this time, the nation of Yasha'Allah. All right. Those are the ones that the Lord sanctified and set near himself. All right. And amongst his process, the Lord has always kept a remnant. All right. The sons of God and the nation of Yasha'Allah. All right. Now going down to verse 7. Barashi chapter 11 and verse 7, it says, go to, let us go down and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. All right, let's get this word for confound. So it says balal, which means to mix, mingle, confuse, confound. To mix. All right. With that understanding, let's go to this. It says combine or put together, form one substance or mass. It says to make in one mass by stirring together. All right, let's get this. Because it also went into to fade. It says gradually grow faint and disappear. It says to lose freshness, strength, or vitality. All right. And that's the definition that I wanted, because when you look at the languages, pretty much they all got traces of Hebrew in them because they come from the pure language. All right. But then them themselves, respectively, they aren't Hebrew themselves. They aren't that pure Hebrew tongue. English, it has traces of Hebrew. Chinese, so-called, has traces of Hebrew. All right. Espanol, that has traces of Hebrew. All right. But it's not as strong as the pure tongue is. And let's get some precepts going into that. All right. So this is Bon Sirach, chapter 1 and verse 1. We're going to skip to the point. It says, wherefore let me entreat you to read it with favor and attention, and to pardon us wherein we may seem to come short of some words, and reason being, I'm keep going, it says, which we have labored to interpret. All right, reason being, because when you go into English, for example, you got something called root words in Hebrew, sharash debarim, root words, sharash, root debarim words. All right. And when you look at these root words, all right, they give you a good understanding of what the word is going into. All right, so for example, in English, when you think of keep, you're like, all right, so keep, like, for example, like it's different articles you can go to on keeping and breaking the law. All right, so in English, it'll limit the definition to a certain amount of words. All right, whereas in Hebrew, if you go to keep, it means to keep the law, to guard it, you see, but it also goes into attend to and to uphold. Whereas like with breaking, it'll go into breaking as well as to treat as void or worthless. You see, so that's why you got to go into the Hebrew, because it gives you a good idea of what something is talking about versus just seeing it in English. You're like, all right, I got a good understanding about it. All right, that's why it says we have labor to interpret. It says, for the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue have not the same force in them. And not only these things, but the law itself and the prophets and the rest of the books have no small difference when they are spoken in their own language. All right, and don't have the same force in it because it's not the full strength. All right, going back to where the languages was confounded, going into that word balal. All right, balal going into a mixture. All right, so moving on, let's get Tazapanya, also Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse 9. It says, for then will I turn to the people a pure language, that they may all call upon the name of the Lord to serve him with one consent. All right, and this word pure, all right, barar, which is going to go into to choose, to select, so the chosen language. But we also, common definition of pure is unadulterated, unmixed. All right, going back to when the language was pure before the confounding of the languages. All right, well, it was just straight Hebrew. All right, let's get some more. This is we're gonna go to Baruch chapter 10 and verse 25. All right, because this happened around the time of Palag. All right, and what's spiritual about his name is it means division. It says, and unto Ibar were born two sons. The name of one was Palag, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. All right, and this Palag, in his time, that was when the languages was confounded. All right, Zahaya, Yewamium, Shal, Palag. All right, so that occurred in the days of Palag. Hence the term or the name Palag, which means to divide. La Palag, to divide. All right. Let's get another one. This is Baruch chapter 2 and verse 30. Because we do have that pure tongue. All right. Hashapah Barar. All right. The pure tongue. All right. Or the pure language. Let's get Baruch chapter 2 and verse 30. And it's all through faith. You know, of course you can go through and get different examples in the different languages, you see, but it's all through faith. All right. It says, for I knew, Baruch 2 and 30, for I knew that they would not hear me because it is a stiff-necked people. You Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians, and Israelite foreigners. So called, it says, but in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves. We're remembering ourselves. We're remembering the Lord is bringing into remembrance his name. The Lord is bringing into remembrance the pure tongue. You see, the Lord is giving faith. All right, because again, it starts with the faith. All right, again, you can show the examples. You can break it down. You know, the scriptures say it's simplicity in the Lord. You see, so the elect is returning, all right, into that simplicity of the Lord. You see, because the language is simple. All right, it's not rocket science. You see, but it all starts with the faith. All right, it says, but in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves. All right, verse 31, and shall know that I am the Lord their power, for I will give them in heart and ears to hear, going into the spirit. And they shall praise me in the land of their captivity and think upon my name. All right, so the Lord has a name. All right. Let's see. Let's go back to Zephaniah 3 and 9. Because it says to serve him with one consent. All right, the elect is going to be keen to what the Lord's name is. All right, the Lord has a reputation, but yes, he does have a direct name. All right. It says to serve him with one consent. All right, one consent should come shoulder to shoulder, which means everybody in unison. All right, it ain't gonna be one group over here. Hey, we gonna call the Lord this or we can call the Lord that. Like, no, the Lord has one name, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah. All right, continuing on. Let's get Bonsarat chapter 17 and verse 10. It says, and the elect shall praise his holy name. All right. Waha Bacharim. All right. And the elect shall praise his holy name, which is Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah. All right. Which, that's the most important part of the language. All right. We can keep going, though. Back to Bara'ashia, chapter 11 and verse 8. It says, so the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city, Banaha Ayar, if I'm not mistaken. Labanath Ha-Ayar. All right, which Labanath also goes into Banah, which means to build. Labanath Ha-Ayar, the city. All right, it says, and they left off to build the city. Therefore, the name of it Therefore is the name of it called Babal, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. All right, and this happened in the days of Pelag. All right, let's get that real fast. Well, the term Babal, because this comes from going back up to verse 7. It said Balal. All right, Babal actually comes from Balal, which Babal means confusion by mixing. All right, so basically, the different languages is a watered down version of the pure tongue. All right, but the Lord kept, from that point, the Lord kept a remnant, you see, but everybody else got a mixture of what the pure tongue was. All right, that's why when you go into the different languages, all right, you'll see traces of Hebrew. It says, therefore is the name of it called Babal, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence the Lord scattered, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. All right, so the work had ceased, and everybody pretty much respectively went into their lands. All right, and the lingua franca was no longer Hashapah Shah Ibaryath. All right, the language of Hebrew. It was various different forms of the Hebrew. All right, and they wasn't able to finish what they started, which is pretty much synonymous with the time we into now. See, the lingua franca is English. All right, and the modern day tower will be that NWO, you see, which the Lord is going to frustrate. Let's get that real fast. This is the Halyim, also Psalm chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves together. So the kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. All right, so pretty much in this modern day Tower of Babel, HaMagadal, Shal, Babal, if you will, the Lord is laughing, you know, at this so-called NWO, because the Lord is going to frustrate their plans, just as he stopped the work at the Tower of Babel. You see, but this time Esau or this NWO is going to go out with destruction. You see. But Lord's will, I don't want to Lord's will is a beautiful edification through the Spirit. Call Halayim La Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shah Bahasham Chakodash. A double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me the truth and rule well. And much respect to you brothers out there pushing the truth with all righteousness and sincerity. Shalom, shalom. A Layla Tawab, shalom.